The cedar curl lifted clean from the plane, thin enough to see morning light through it. And then the sound outside my workshop went wrong. Not thunder, not a truck on gravel, not the familiar metallic clink of my gate latch in the wind. A child's plastic wrench struck the stones once. Then again, followed by a woman trying very hard not to cry. I stopped the plane halfway down the board. A man who works with wood learns to listen for strain. A joist begins to complain long before it gives way. A split hides under varnish until pressure finds it. Cedar, oak, pine, mahogany. Every material tells you what it can carry if you are patient enough to hear it. People are harder. People learn to stand upright while the load is already cracking them open. I set the plane down on the bench and wiped my hands on my apron. The workshop smelled of aged cedar, linseed oil, and the quiet life I had built one controlled inch at a time. The big barn doors stood open to the gravel drive. Late summer light lay flat across the floorboards, catching dust in the air. Olivia Wilson stood at the threshold. She was my neighbor, though that word had always felt too small and too safe for what I knew about her. I had seen her across the property line for almost a year, carrying groceries in one arm and her daughter's school bag in the other, fixing a crooked mailbox flag with a butter knife, waving politely from her porch when I came home, covered in sawdust. Today, her cardigan was buttoned wrong. The bottom edge hung unevenly, twisted near her hip. Olivia noticed things like that. She noticed Lily's shoelace before Lily tripped. She noticed when my workshop light stayed on past midnight. She noticed the loose hinge on her back gate 3 days before I finally walked over and fixed it. Now she stood frozen in the opening, holding a broken wooden schooner against her chest like it was something alive. Her 6-year-old daughter, Lily, peeked from behind her skirt. In one hand, Lily clutched a bright yellow toy wrench upside down, turning it the wrong way against her own thumb. That tiny mistake made the room feel smaller. Noah, Olivia said. My name came out steady. Too steady. I took one step back from the bench, making more room instead of moving toward her. You can come in, I said, only as far as you want. Olivia crossed the threshold. The scent of rain came with her, faint and metallic. Clinging to the hem of her skirt, she set the broken schooner on my workbench with both hands, then immediately stepped back as if she had trespassed. The boat was the Esther. I knew it because I had noticed it through her living room window on winter evenings when her curtains were open and the lamps were on. A hand-carved mahogany schooner, nearly 3 feet long, resting on a mantel above old family photographs. Not expensive in the way collectors mean expensive. Better than that. Loved. Kept. Built by someone who understood grain and patience. Now the hull was split straight down the center seam. The mainmast had snapped at the base. The rigging hung loose in a dark tangle. The starboard rail had a fresh bruise where blunt force had crushed the wood fibers. It had not fallen by accident. My hands wanted to reach for the broken mast. I kept them at my sides. What happened? I asked. Olivia looked at the floorboards of my shop instead of at me. Richard came by this morning. I did not need the last name. Richard Miller owned half the new commercial lots on the county road and wanted the rest. He was also Olivia's ex-husband, though that word, like neighbor, failed to carry the full weight of what it meant. Their divorce had been ugly enough that people in town discussed it in lowered voices at the hardware store. He let himself into the house? I asked. My old spare key was missing from the kitchen drawer. I thought I had lost it during the move. Her mouth tightened. I know better now. Lily pressed closer to her mother's leg. Olivia noticed and lowered one hand to Lily's shoulder. He filed a deed challenge with the county zoning board. Olivia continued. He says my grandfather never legally transferred the property to me. He says the deed I have is only an unrecorded draft. And because Miller Development bought the adjacent parcels, he can force a title review and block my property tax filing until the dispute is settled. There was the first load-bearing point. Why? She was trapped. The house was not just a house. It was the only stable thing she had left after divorce. Legal bills. And a man who had learned to use paperwork as a crowbar. What does he want? I asked. The parcel. Olivia's fingers tightened around Lily's shoulder, then loosened when she realized it. My grandfather refused to sell when Richard's father bought the rest of the block. Richard wants to turn the whole corner into mixed-use retail. My property sits in the middle like a stone in his shoe. And the boat? Olivia's eyes moved to the Esther. I told him to leave. I told him that boat was my grandfather's, and he had no right to touch anything in the house. He smiled, put his hand flat on the mantel, and shoved it. Her voice did not break. Her thumbnail pressed into the side of her index finger until the skin blanched. The Esther hit the hearth. Richard said old things break when people keep clinging to them. Lily whispered, "He broke Grandpa Tom's boat." The shop went quiet around those words. Not because the boat mattered more than the deed, because sometimes a predator breaks the thing that proves you belong before he tries to take the place itself. I picked up a clean towel and laid it beside the schooner. May I examine it? Olivia blinked, as if she had expected me to begin without asking. Yes. I touched the hull with 2 fingers. Old-growth mahogany. Dense. Dark. Tight-grained. Almost impossible to replace without salvaging antique stock. The split was ugly, but not hopeless. The mast could be restepped. The rigging could be charted and rethreaded. Then my hand paused at the stern. The balance was wrong. A model of that size should not carry that much weight in the aft block. Any careful builder would hollow the section or carve it lighter. Thomas Wilson, Olivia's grandfather, had been more than careful. I could see it in the hand-shaped railings, the symmetry of the planking, the tiny way the bow curved as if it still remembered water. That heavy stern was not a mistake. It was a decision. What is it? Olivia asked. I'm not sure yet. That was the truth. My flaw was wanting to turn uncertainty into a repair plan before anyone could see the gap. Wood allowed that sometimes. People did not. I took my hand away. I can stabilize the boat, I said. Not fully restore it today. Stabilize. The split needs gentle pressure, hide glue, internal splints, and cure time. If I rush it, I'll destroy what's left. Olivia opened her purse. I can pay. No. The word came out sharper than I intended. Lily's toy wrench stopped moving. I softened my voice. Not no to you. No, to that being the first question. You need money for your attorney and the hearing. Let me help with the wood as your neighbor. If there are materials I can't cover, I'll tell you before I buy them. You decide. Olivia looked at me for a long moment. You always say things like, they're load ratings. Wood is easier than conversation. That got one small breath from her. Not a laugh yet, but close enough to keep. Lily lifted the toy wrench toward me. Can you fix the boat? I knelt to her level. I can try. Are you a doctor for boats? Something like that. She studied my face with the seriousness only children and judges seem able to hold. Doctors stay until the patient is okay. Olivia closed her eyes for half a second. I looked from Lily to the Esther. 2, then to the county notice, peeking from Olivia's bag. I'll stay with the boat. I said, your mother decides everything else. That mattered. Lily nodded as if the terms were acceptable. By that afternoon, the Esther was resting in padded blocks on my bench, photographed from every angle before I moved a single broken piece. I made a condition log in my notebook, labeled the damaged sections, and wrapped the loose rigging in wax paper so nothing would tangle further. Olivia did not come fully into the shop again that first day. She stood at the threshold with Lily beside her and watched. When I noticed, I did not wave her in. I only angled the work lamp so she could see the boat without stepping closer than she wanted. Trust, like glue, fails when forced. The next morning, Richard's lawyer sent Olivia a survey packet by courier. She brought it over in a manila envelope, held against her ribs. The old survey showed lot lines from 20 years earlier, after Miller Development had bought the adjacent properties. The packet did not prove Richard owned her parcel. It proved he had money, lawyers, and enough paper to make fear look official. This is how he works. Olivia said. He stacks documents until people stop fighting. Then we don't fight with volume, I said. We fight with origin. She looked at me. Oldest record wins? Not always, But original record matters. Her thumbnail pressed into her finger. I saw it. I said nothing. Instead, I slid a clean mug of coffee toward her along the bench rail. She stared at it. I thought I was the one bringing coffee. You forgot yours on the porch. She looked down at her empty hand, surprised. That was the first human texture crack in the fear. She had walked across her yard carrying a legal packet and forgotten the coffee she had made. I did, she said. Easy fix? I'm tired of being easy to fix. The sentence landed harder than she expected. Her eyes went to the boat, then away. I did not answer with reassurance. I picked up the condition log and placed it between us. Then, we fixed the part that asked to be fixed. She read the first page. Broken mainmast, split hull, stern, weight. Irregular. Possible concealed cavity. Do not open without owner present. Her gaze stopped on the last line. Owner present, she said quietly. It's your boat. Noah. Everyone keeps talking about what belongs to Richard. What belonged to my grandfather. What belongs to the county. I don't think anyone has said something is mine in weeks. The shop smelled of aged cedar and rain-damp wool. I placed the pencil on top of the log. Then write it. She looked at me. Write what? Owner present. Olivia Wilson. For a moment, she did not move. Then, she picked up the pencil and wrote her name. Her hand shook once. The letters held. Over the next few days, the repair became a rhythm. On Tuesday, Richard's lawyer sent a notice of proposed emergency injunction. On Wednesday, Olivia brought coffee at 9, but stayed outside the line where the concrete floor changed color near the bench. On Thursday, Lily sat on a folded drop cloth and tried to help by turning her yellow wrench backward against a scrap block until she announced that the wood was being stubborn. I told her stubborn wood was usually scared wood. She told me wood could not be scared. Olivia, standing at the door with a thermos of chamomile tea, said, People say that about other people too. The shop went quiet. Then Lily asked if the boat needed a blanket, and the moment breathed again. I built a steam box out of PVC pipe, an electric kettle, and a length of hose I did not want to explain to anyone with a building code clipboard. I salvaged a strip of antique mahogany from a broken chair leg in my storage loft, planed it thin as paper, and used the steam to bend it along the inside curve of the Esther's hull. Tool, deliverable, arena, my world. But the work still required Olivia. I would not open the stern without her. I would not remove the transom panel without her present. I photographed every stage and wrote a chain of custody note, even though I did not yet know whether the hidden weight was evidence or only a builder's oddity. On Thursday night, the storm broke. Rain hit the tin roof in hard sheets. The power flickered once, surged, and died. The dehumidifier went silent. The shop dropped into darkness, so complete that the cedar smell seemed to thicken. From near the door, Olivia drew a sharp breath. Not dramatic, not helpless, just the sound of someone whose mind had been waiting all week for one more thing to go wrong. Stay where you are. I said, There's a stool 2 inches behind your left knee. I know. Good. She knew the room now. I reached under the bench by memory, found my headlamp, and clicked it on. The beam cut through airborne dust. I angled it down at the work surface, not toward her face. The Esther lay between us. The D hull stabilized. Mast splinted. Stern still wrong. The court packet came, Olivia said from the edge of the light. Hearing Monday. Richard wants a temporary order, blocking me from recording anything with the county until title review is complete. That helps him. It traps me. Same thing to men like him. Her breath shifted. A little laugh. Too thin to stand long. I picked up the flush-cut saw. Olivia. Yes? I think your grandfather hid something in the stern. I need your permission to open the panel. She stepped closer. Lily was not with her tonight. She was asleep at Olivia's mother's house because the storm had made the lights flicker in her bedroom. Olivia looked at the boat under the headlamp. If it breaks, Then it breaks with a record of why we opened it. She swallowed. Do it. No, I said. Her eyes lifted. You do it, I said. I'll guide the pressure. She stared at the tiny seam in the transom panel. I don't know how. I'll put the tool in the seam. Your hand on the handle. Slow pressure. If the wood complains, we stop. The storm hammered the roof. She came to stand beside me. Her shoulder brushed my sleeve and then moved away. Not fear, awareness. I set the saw blade into the hairline seam and held the spine steady. Olivia placed her hand over the handle. Now, I said, just enough. The panel did not crack. It moved. A tiny brass hinge, black with age, rotated open. Olivia froze. I let go of the tool. Inside, the stern was a hollow chamber lined with dark waxed cloth. Tucked inside was a rolled cylinder of vellum, sealed with old red wax and tied with thread brittle enough to snap if breathed on wrong. I stepped back. Your hands, I said. She reached in. The vellum came free. For 1 second, she only held it. Then she lowered it to the bench and broke the seal with her thumb. The document unrolled reluctantly, stiff from age. A county seal rose from the corner. Not printed, raised, real. The first page was a master deed and boundary survey from 40 years earlier, before Miller Development bought the surrounding parcels. It named Thomas Wilson as owner of the original homestead lot and included an exclusion clause. The parcel could not be absorbed into commercial redevelopment without written consent of the Wilson heir in possession. Olivia read the clause once. Then again, her thumbnail left her finger. He knew, she said. Her voice was barely there. My grandfather knew Richard's father would try to force everyone out. He hid the original where no one would think to take it. I looked at the deed. Then, at the open stern. The aged cedar smell seemed to fold around us. No longer fortress or silence, but witness. We don't celebrate yet, I said. Olivia nodded. Practical first. County. Archivist, I said. Title attorney. Chain of custody. We document the hidden compartment, photograph the seal, and store the deed flat. We do not call Richard. We do not show him. We do not give him time to invent another story. She touched the edge of the vellum. Then she reached for the condition log and wrote, Opened by owner, Olivia Wilson. In presence of Noah Grant. Storm outage. Devet. Awesomenized. M. Original document found inside stern compartment. She dated it. Her hand did not shake. Friday morning. We met the county archivist, Evelyn Park, in a back office that smelled like paper. Toner. And old dust trapped in metal drawers. Evelyn wore cotton gloves, half-moon glasses, and the expression of a woman who had seen too many people arrive with priceless family papers that turned out to be souvenir menus. She did not smile at us. Good. Skepticism protects records. I placed the ester on a padded cart and handed over the condition log, macro photographs, and chain of custody statement. Olivia set the deed on the table herself. Evelyn examined the seal under magnification. Then the ink. Then the paper fiber. Then the fold pattern. She glanced at the restored stern. Who opened this compartment? She asked. I did, Olivia said. Noah guided the tool, Olivia continued. But I opened it. Evelyn looked at me. You repaired the panel without disturbing the hinge? I stabilized the surrounding grain first. She lifted the magnifier again. Good hands. It was not warm praise. It was better. It was accurate. She looked back at Olivia. The seal appears consistent with county clerk embossing from that period. I cannot give final legal opinion. I can certify condition, apparent authenticity, and discovery record for title review. Olivia exhaled. One step. Not victory. A plank underfoot. Then the title attorney arrived. His name was David Chen, and he had the weary face of a man who billed in 6-minute increments but still kept emergency granola bars in his briefcase. He reviewed the deed, Evelyn's certification, Richard's filing, and the old survey packet. His first sentence was not comforting. "This will not end Monday." Olivia's face tightened. David continued, "But it can stop Richard from forcing transfer Monday. We ask the commissioner to suspend the development petition pending title review. We enter the deed into the record. We request a preservation order preventing any sale, encumbrance, or commercial filing against your parcel until the chain is verified." "That means waiting," Olivia said. Yes. Richard had used waiting as a weapon. Now waiting could become a shield. Olivia looked at me. I did not answer for her. She turned back to David. "File it." Monday morning, the zoning hearing room was too warm and too beige. Richard Miller sat across the table between two attorneys in tailored suits. He looked fresh, rested, and certain. The way men look when they believe the room was built for them before they entered it. Olivia sat beside David Chen. I sat behind them with the Esther in its wooden carrying case at my feet, not beside Olivia, not between her and Richard. Behind her, where a witness belongs until called. Lily sat outside the room with Olivia's mother and the yellow toy wrench in her lap. She had insisted on bringing it in case the boat got nervous. The commissioner adjusted his glasses. "We are here regarding Miller Development's petition for title clarification and proposed commercial boundary consolidation." Richard leaned forward immediately. "With respect, Commissioner, Mrs. Wilson has delayed this process long enough. She has no recorded deed sufficient to override the existing commercial grid. We have offered relocation assistance. More than generous, given the ambiguity." Olivia's hand rested on the table. Her thumbnail did not move. David started to speak, but Olivia touched his sleeve, not stopping him, choosing the first words herself. "My grandfather did not leave me in ambiguity," she said. Richard's eyes sharpened. Olivia stood. No speech, no performance. She opened the padded folder and placed the vellum deed on the table. "This is Thomas Wilson's original master deed and boundary survey," she said. "It was found inside a concealed compartment in a hand-built model schooner he left to my family. The county archivist has certified the seal, ink, paper condition, and discovery record for title review. My attorney has filed the chain of custody statement and preservation request." Richard laughed once. "Too fast. That is theatrical nonsense." Olivia looked at him. The room went quiet. "No," she said. "Theatrical nonsense is breaking a dead man's boat to scare his granddaughter into leaving her home." Richard's face changed. Just a little. "Enough?" The commissioner looked at him over the rim of his glasses. I stood only when David called my name. The Esther came out of the case and onto the table. Restored. Solid. The stern panel still visible if you knew where to look. I placed the macro photo packet beside it. "I'm Noah Grant," I said, "master carpenter and timber framer. I repaired the model schooner after impact damage and documented the concealed stern compartment before and after opening. The compartment was not a modern alteration. The hinge, wax lining, and tool marks are consistent with original construction." Richard's attorney objected that I was not a legal expert. "Correct," I said. "I am speaking only to the wood." The commissioner looked almost amused. "Proceed." I did not look at Richard. The aft block was intentionally overbuilt to conceal the cavity. A craftsman of Thomas Wilson's skill would not accidentally leave that much mass in the stern. The compartment was designed for storage, hidden by a fitted transom panel. Olivia Wilson opened the panel herself while I guided the tool and documented the process. I sat down. The rest was hers. David presented Evelyn Park's certification, then the preservation request, then the title review motion. Richard's lawyers spoke in careful circles. They called it late evidence. They called it emotionally motivated. They called it unverified. But they did not call it impossible. That was the first crack. The commissioner read for a long time. When he looked up, he did not look at Richard first. He looked at Olivia. "I am not issuing final title determination today," he said. "That belongs in formal title review. However, this deed is material enough that Miller Development's petition for consolidation is suspended. No transfer, sale, commercial filing, or development action may proceed against the Wilson parcel until review is complete. The deed will be entered into the county record pending verification. Richard stood too quickly. This is absurd. The commissioner's face hardened. Sit down, Mr. Miller. Richard sat. The sound his chair made against the floor was small and ugly. The commissioner stamped the order. Not victory. Not yet. But the first official wall between Richard and Olivia's home. Outside the hearing room, Lily ran toward us the second the doors opened. Did the boat help? She asked. Olivia knelt and pulled her close. The boat helped, she said. Lily looked at me. Did you fix it enough? Your mother opened it enough. That answer seemed to please her more. She took my hand before I could step back. Can you stay a little longer? The hallway held still. I looked at Olivia, expecting her to rescue me from the weight of a child's hope, to set a boundary, to say, Noah has work, to turn this back into neighborly kindness with a polite smile. Instead, Olivia stood. She did not whisper like a secret. She said it softly because the moment did not need force. I'd like that too. My chest tightened. I had spent years making sure my workshop stayed quiet enough that nothing unexpected could enter. Now, a child's hand was wrapped around my fingers, and Olivia Wilson was looking at me as if staying was not a rescue mission, not repayment, not crisis management. A choice. I can stay, I said. Lily smiled, as if the county had ruled on that too. The next weeks moved in official steps. Evelyn Park completed the archive certification. David filed the title petition. Richard's emergency claim stayed suspended. Olivia signed updated property tax forms in her own name and submitted a sworn statement about Richard entering the house without permission. The missing spare key became part of the record, not a private shame she had to carry alone. Richard did not vanish. Men like Richard rarely do. He sent letters. David answered them. He threatened delay. The commissioner denied his request for access to the parcel during review. Miller Development lost its investor deadline for the commercial project. And for the first time, Richard had to wait while someone else controlled the door. 2 months later, the final order came through. The deed was valid. The exclusion clause stood. The Wilson parcel could not be absorbed into the commercial development without Olivia's written consent. Title remained hers. Absolute. That evening, Olivia brought the letter to my workshop. She did not stop at the threshold. She walked straight to the bench, set the order beside the ester, and placed Lily's yellow plastic wrench on top of it like a paperweight. Official enough? She asked. I read the first page, then the second, then the signature. Official enough. Lily climbed onto the stool by the bench. Does that mean Mr. Miller can't take the house? It means he can waste money trying to be wrong, I said. Olivia covered a smile with her hand. Good, Lily said. He is good at that. Lily. What? You said honesty matters. I looked down at the workbench because it was safer than looking at Olivia right then. 2 winters later, the workshop still smelled like aged cedar, but the smell no longer meant silence. The barn doors stood open to a cold morning, and snow dusted the gravel outside. On the bench, the ester rested in a custom glass case I had built from walnut and old window panes from Olivia's porch renovation. The restored stern panel was visible from one side, not hidden, not displayed like a trick, simply acknowledged. A small brass plate sat below it. Ester, built by Thomas Wilson, restored with the owner present. Lily had insisted on the last 3 words. She was now 8 and building a lopsided tower out of scrap pine on a drop cloth in the corner. Every support leaned the wrong way. She hit 1 block with her yellow wrench, then frowned at the result. It's structurally interesting, I said. It's bad. Bad is a step toward better. It's going to fall. Most things warn you first. As if offended, the tower collapsed. Lily looked at me. You jinxed it. I observed it. Olivia walked in from the house, carrying 2 insulated thermoses and a folded county letter. She wore a heavy wool coat, her hair tucked badly under a knit hat, one mitten hanging from her pocket by a loose thread. She no longer fixed every crooked thing before crossing a room. Some crooked things could wait. She set one thermos on my side of the bench and one on hers. Coffee. 9 o'clock. Still. Then she handed me the folded letter. What's this? Final tax confirmation. If you too, sole owner, no pending challenge. I opened it. Her name stood alone on the line. Olivia Wilson. Not Richard's name, not her grandfather's estate, not Miller Development's shadow. Hers. I looked up. She had one hand in her pocket. Her thumb was not pressed into her finger. I wanted you to see it here, she said. Where? The first piece of proof came out. The aged cedar smell moved around us with the cold air. Lily began rebuilding her tower, this time with a wider base. Olivia stepped closer and held out a small brass key. Not to my house, to hers. I'm not giving you this because I'm scared of Richard, she said. I'm not giving it because Lily asked you to stay. I'm giving it because you kept stepping back until I could step forward. The key sat in her palm, warm from her hand. And because, she added, softer now, I like hearing your tools from the kitchen. I took the key. It felt heavier than it should have. I'll use it carefully. I know, she smiled. But don't be so careful, you never come in. Lily looked up from her tower. Does this mean Noah stays? Olivia looked at me. I looked at the Esther in its case. At the hidden compartment, no longer hidden. At the deed that had saved a home, because a broken thing had been handled with care instead of force. Yes, Olivia said. It means he stays. The strongest structures I had ever built were not the ones I guarded alone. They were the ones that let someone else add weight, warmth, and noise without collapsing the frame. Outside, snow kept falling on the gravel. Inside, the cedar held. The end. Closing thoughts. Core lesson. Real trust is built by protecting what matters without taking someone's agency away. Green flag. Healthy love respects boundaries, gives space for choice, and shows up with steady action instead of control. Please like and subscribe so we can share more stories like this.